I just wanted to ask quickly about sales, and I know that December sales were phenomenal for Chrysler, but we did see a dip in the Dodge Caravan, which is made in Windsor, where I'm from. And I wanted to ask you your thoughts about that dip. Is it something the company is concerned about, or is it something that was anticipated?
I have nightmares, just so you're right. I mean, I know you live in Windsor, right? And I spend a lot of I lived in Windsor, so I understand the nightmares you're having, but the Windsor residue from the DH, but. The problem is that we worry about this all the time for two reasons. One, because this is our segment. I mean, we invented the minivan. It was a gutsy call when it was done X number of years ago. I think it was more than 20. And for whatever reason, somebody in the previous administrations that allowed some things to deteriorate on that vehicle, which are still plaguing us. I go back in and I look at sort of market data on the two minivans, and I understand there was a part of our past which is an unfortunate part of our past, and where we may have slipped on quality, and that keeps on negatively impacting on the perception of the cars. We have spent a huge amount of time, of effort, and money in curing all those issues, and unfortunately that message is not being caught by the marketplace. And so the reduction that we're seeing in volumes in December, I think, is a reflection, and this is purely a US issue, because in Canada the Grand Caravan continues to be a well-performing brand, nameplate, and it continues to be one of the two top 5 models sold in Canada. It is a US issue which we have somehow allowed the two imports to occupy. And that should not be the case. So we've got a team of people now, and if you go onto the stand, you will see some of the things that we're experimenting with to try and redefine our presence in the minivan segment. I'm not telling you that what you see on the stand is the choice that we have made about the future, but it is a kind of exploration that we're carrying out to find out how we can regain that presence and hold it, because it is our segment. We want it back. We want the Grand Caravan to be the most significant nameplate in that segment, and we have lost that right now. And so I do stay up nights worrying about it, but we can't. I don't think we could work any harder in terms of fixing the issue than we're working today. But I agree with your concern. I have the same ones.
Yeah. Sergio, Rod Maloney, Channel 4 News, Detroit. Question regarding a year later now, your Super Bowl commercial, the impact that it's had. It sold you a lot of 200s. The question then becomes...
Not enough, but anyway, go on.
The question becomes then, are you working on something for the Super Bowl for this year? Is there anything you can let out of the bag here? Or are you
the answer is yes, and I can let nothing out of the bag. I can tell you two things. It's going to cost us more money. And secondly, it will not even be as remotely as successful as the other one. We cannot duplicate M&M. I don't know how to do that. So let us struggle with this. We're going to put ashes on our heads as we see the stuff, but it's going to be one tough haul. The problem with having successes like that is they're impossible to replicate. I don't know how to do it. Right? I know our guys are working their buns off to try and get something which is meaningful. It will never be as meaningful as imported from Detroit, because that broke a mold. It broke pattern, and you can't continue to break patterns. Eventually, you'll end up repeating yourself. And the danger that I have, and which is the reason why we've been quiet on this, and why we've been agonizing, is that I don't want to repeat ourselves, but I also don't want to try and break the China every time. I think there's a limit to how many times you can break China and then put it back together.
Mr. Marchionne, Jim Crichton with CTV. Sir, in the past year, there have been a number of stoppages at the Windsor minivan plant, I believe largely related to part shortages. Yeah. What is being done to address that, sir?
Well, look, I mean, if we couldn't have asked for a better collection of suppliers screw-ups that we had up in Canada, for a variety of reasons, and from a multitude of suppliers, most of which had to do, to the best of my knowledge, all of them had to do with supplier problems induced by environmental issues, weather, unavailability of parts, floods, couldn't get carpets, which is kind of hard to make a minivan without carpets for a long period of time. So We have fires at our supplier facilities. I guess those are acts of God, I guess. But it's really been, it's been really tough. I sincerely hope that 2012 doesn't drag any of that crap with it. It just has really been tough. I mean, every time I spoke to supply chain, I mean, it was an issue. You know, for the last 12 months, almost incessantly, every month there's been an issue. And some of them took a lot longer than we thought to get rid of. Because by the time you find alternative suppliers, or you wait for people to come back up with production, you usually end up losing a number of days out of production. And because of the commonality between Grand Caravan and Town & Country, it impacted both, and if there were supply restrictions and components, we would have chosen one brand versus the other. So there's a perception that the Grand Caravan may not as well done as well as the other. That's not true. Hopefully we won't have any in 12. But it goes back to what I said to the lady earlier. Our big challenge here is to find the solution to the minivan puzzle. We need a new minivan.
We're going to take one more question and then let the Sergio, John McElroy with Autoline at WWJ. How do you keep the Fiat Chrysler group growing? And I'm especially interested in your moves into China and India. You seem to be way behind in that. Maybe a huge area of opportunity, or do you see that you're still got to concentrate on consolidating what you've got here and between Chrysler and Fiat?
No, one of the things that we did as part of the announcement in the summer when we created this operating structure is to devote people and resources to the development of Asia and not leave it as an attachment to the development of the US or Europe or anywhere else. Mike Manley, who in addition to running Jeep now runs Asia Pacific for us, has the specific assignment of building on what has started off as being a very good proposition in terms of building a joint venture with Guangzhou Automotive, with GAC. And that is coming into production in 2012, so we'll have cars rolling off the line in China, hopefully by the end of the second quarter of this year. The big opportunity for us, especially in the Chinese environment, is to explore how we can grow Jeep, because Jeep, to me, is still the biggest international calling card that we own. And I made a very solemn commitment to Toledo that I would never build a Wrangler outside of Toledo, and I won't. So, but other than the Wrangler, there's going to be a requirement that I manufacture locally. And so, how we do that in China, with whom, under what circumstances, is the issue that we need to explore. Because notwithstanding the fact that there are a number of competitors in China, the uniqueness of the Jeep brand will allow us to carve out a particular space in the market and not have to fight for market attention with other people. So we got to pick our horses and drive those internationally as opposed to trying to be all things to all people. The Indian issue is somewhat easier. I think we are resolving the outstanding matters that we had with Tata in terms of distribution. We'll have a new structure in place hopefully by the first quarter of 2012. So I'm hopeful that once these things are behind us, that we'll be able to start running this businesses as a Fiat Chrysler business as opposed to a joint venture. So, which has really been at the heart of our problems. The fact that we had to share all the decisions with another party.